You're tuned in to RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's RBLR Sports.
Point Watson gets it. He toe drag, shoots, scores! Oh, unbelievable! Right at point, wins the game in overtime. An incredible move.
4 seconds left. In front, Bobby Mullen. The Tampa Bay Lightning have won the first Stanley Cup. And the Tampa Bay Lightning have won the Stanley Cup.
Welcome in to RBLR Lightning here at RBLR Sports. My name is Eureka, and joining me on the line today is my forever linesman, man. We have two C's on our sweaters, and that's my guy Chris. What's up, Chris? Man, how are you doing, brother?
I'm doing okay, man. You know, still recovering, obviously, from the game last night. It was kind of a letdown.
Yeah.
Really good game, though, so I'm not too mad at it. Like I said, I picked I picked the Lightning in 6, so if I do that, that means we have to lose 2 games in order for that to happen. So trying to stay true to my picks. You know, I got the first 2 rounds right, so trying to get this one right too. So I'm not feeling too bad, and you know what, man, I'm gonna wish you your first happy Father's Day, man. I hope it's a good one for you, man.
Hey, thanks, man. Yeah, it's I was wrong with my my Bolts in 5 prediction. I'm already out. I got a little saucy. I had a little bit of the Chris sauce, and I thought I was going to be a cool guy, but no. Unfortunately, it's now a best of 3 as the Bolts and the Islanders are tied 2 games apiece. But I know we got your prediction, Jake and I, when we were talking right before the series, and now we're it's not really we're kind of midway through the series now that it was a best of 7, and now we're 4 games into it. So I wanted to take a step back before we get into kind of your thoughts about last night's game and the games before it. But what were you feeling going into the series with the Islanders and the Lightning?
I was a little more worried than I was obviously against Carolina, only because the way the Islanders played defensively, they can shut some stuff down, and usually the Bolts don't really react too well to that. Sometimes it can take them a couple games when they play a team like that to get things going. And they if the Islanders get up, man, they're one of those teams that they can shut you down and kind of sit back and just sit back in their zone and let all their D men stay back and not have to really push up much. And that kind of stuff to me is worrisome, because all it takes is that 1-2 goal and they can just kind of sit back and play that. They're not the most exciting team to watch, so that I say boring hockey in my eyes, and that's what works for them, and that's their style. So, hats off to them, being able to play that type of game. But that was probably my biggest worry coming into the series, was if they do get a lead, I know they can shut it down pretty well defensively, even though obviously we're a high-scoring team, we're a high-powered team, but, even if you have a good defensive team, most of the time defense can win you championships too. So I think coming into the series, I was just really worried about, that happening. And obviously we played them last year in the same round where we're at now. Obviously it was in the bubble, so there was no crowds, and I think the fans are definitely helping the Isles out a little bit. So that was one of my worries too, was them being able to play in front of their home crowd. New York's been rocking this whole series, so yeah. And then obviously they played really well against Pittsburgh, and a lot of people picked Pittsburgh to beat the Islanders in the first round, and they took them out, and then they took out Boston, who a lot of people once again picked Boston, but New York's kind of sliding in there as that underdog, been down 2-1 in both series and had come back. So obviously I think this is probably the series where I was worried the most, where I thought this is going to be the biggest challenge for the Lightning. And obviously I don't want to pick against the Lightning, but I feel like if we were going to lose any series, it would be this one, just because of the way the style the Islanders have when it comes to shutting games down when they get the lead. So that's probably pretty much it, basic overall, as far as going into the series, what I was kind of worried about.
Yeah, I think between hearing what you just said and what Jake had said, it sounded like it was kind of the worst of both worlds, where they kind of fire everything they can do in the beginning and try to get that 1 or 2 goals, and then they're able to, so they can be fast, they can be like Carolina was, but then they can also turtle up and kind of bog things down and make it really ugly, kind of like how Florida was doing. So it's kind of like you could pick and choose the two strategies that worked well against us in those first 2 rounds and kind of use them against us in this one.
No, yeah, that's definitely. I think, and I think I heard Jake say, the special teams is going to be huge again in this series, and that's been one of the things that is true, because the Islanders don't commit a lot of penalties, and like you said, the refs do like to hold the whistles, farther you get into the playoffs, but they don't commit as many penalties as we do. We're still the highest penalized team in the league this year, and now we're the highest penalized team in the playoffs. And I think a lot of that, I hate to bash the officiating, but it hasn't been the best. Obviously, I'd like to see a fairly played game, but definitely the PK for us has been, middle of the road, and I'm not too worried about their power play. They had a couple good chances, but I was more concerned about, are we going to get the calls, going into this series too, because, we are a highly penalized team. They're not, so sometimes the refs take that into consideration, and, there was a lot of complaints coming out of that Boston series about how the Islanders, didn't get a lot of, or Boston got a lot of calls and the Islanders didn't, so that was one of my bigger concerns too, obviously, and now we've kind of seen it where, the Islanders have only had, 2 penalties, I think, in 2 games now, so I think that's a big contributing factor too right now.
Yeah, and then before we kind of get into what has happened, how did you feel their goaltending situation was? With Varlamov and kind of in a 1A 1B over there in the Islanders.
Honestly, I didn't think Varlamov will be playing as well as he is as of right now. Like, coming into this series, I was like, Varlamov's been around the league. He's been on a couple teams. He's got the game play and the time play to be a playoff goalie. But I wasn't worried like he was going to be making all these crazy saves and have good games. But he's proven me wrong so far. Through these 4 games, I think he's played really well. I think he's definitely kept them in the 2 games they've won. Overall, he's impressed me so far, and coming into the series, I guess I should have been a little more worried than I was. I kind of took it lightly, I guess you could say. I was like, we got Vasti, we're fine, we got our offense, we're gonna put some goals on the board. I don't think Varlamov will be able to hold us off, but he's definitely shown up, and he's proven me wrong so far.
All right. Yeah, I guess we don't have to go game by game now that we're kind of after 4, but I did want to maybe say or ask you, what did you think has been actually working well for them before we get into the criticism and kind of some of the things, because there's plenty of both. Mm-hmm. We won 2 games, we lost 2 games, and I don't think those games could have been more polar opposites, in my opinion. The games we've won, they've looked sharp, and the games that they've not won, it's been really, really ugly to watch at times. So I guess let's start with the good. What do you think the Lightning have been able to achieve in the series so far?
I think honestly the good so far to me has been where the third and fourth line have played really, really well, and that's a good confidence booster, especially going into these later games. Obviously, you got to grind it out in these type of series, and that fourth line with Maroon and Johnson and Colton has really stepped up. They've had a lot of really good chances, a lot of really good opportunities, and for a fourth line to be doing that, I mean that's really good, especially when your first line's only getting you. I think that first line had 2 shots to the first 2 periods of the game last night, game 4. So that's our go-to line. I mean, that's the Stamkos line. That's the line that should be putting up some more shots than 2 through 2 periods. And that fourth line has really stepped up. I think it's good to have other lines that are able to play for you, and you can't rely on that first line. We're not a one-line team, so that's a real big positive so far. I think the defense overall has played pretty well. That game 3 was just a defensive clinic in my eyes. I thought the Islanders were definitely going to try to make a push at the end of that game, and man, we shut it down those last 2 minutes when they pulled Varlamov out of the net. So I think the defense has really, really played well overall. I'm not going to sit there and pick on them each game, but I think overall, I think we've played pretty well. It's all been 1-goal games, I think we've done a pretty good job at shutting down their top lines, minus Barzal. Barzal's had a pretty good series so far, so we need to definitely get on him and watch him a little better. But I think those are the positives so far. Stamkos had a pretty good game 3. I know he didn't have a lot of shots on goal, but his back checking was really well. He was coming from behind. He was breaking up a lot of plays, just kind of doing his thing, not really taking too many shots and scoring goals, but he was definitely there in other ways. So, shout out to Stamkos for that. I just wanted to point that out as a positive from game 3, because I know a lot of people are saying, Stamkos hasn't scored a lot, but he did play pretty well that game, and that was a game we did end up winning because defensive wise we shut stuff down. So I think those would be my positives so far overall from what I've seen.
Yeah, I would maybe add. It's kind of easy to say, Vasilevsky, but I think Vasilevsky's played other than maybe last night, especially the first 2 periods. It was kind of the only time he's looked kind of a little out of it, not lost, but just a little off.
Right.
But even game 1 they lost, but it was two. You said 1-goal games, and it's kind of like if they make one of those goals was absolutely his fault. But other than that, 29 out of 31. Just overall, 27 out of 28 when they won game 3, and even last night. A really bad second period, but one of those goals was kind of an own goal, and everyone was really not doing well the first couple periods, and we'll get into kind of some of the criticism, but other than those little those little marks, I think the Big Cat has been everything we've advertised and more. Again, we're watching a Hall of Fame goaltender in the peak of his prime, and it's a guy that we expect to be great, and it's a reason that we are this far in the playoffs. So I think as we're looking at it, and I think even his, as good as he's been, hasn't been rewarded, I guess, because of these 1 goal here, 2 goals there, and that's been the difference with everything. I'd say also they still haven't lost 2 games in a row. I think that's a positive, that they continue to bounce back after losses. We look at game 2, and I think the majority of comments were that like the real Lightning, the real Bolts, came to play in game 2 where they didn't necessarily show up in game 1, and it's one of those in the positive, like when they are firing on all cylinders. You looked at game 2, you had Point, Palat, Ruda, and Hedman all had goals. You had, and that'd be another thing, is getting the defensive guys involved on offense, right? If that's happening, and it's not a Kucherov, it's not a Stamkos, it's not, Point just doing it by themselves, that's when we're really that's when we become title contenders for real. So in the games they've won, they've looked amazing. I think but I'll transition, because the games they've lost have been kind of like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde kind of thing. What have you seen that you think has been I don't, maybe not negative, but some of the things are just outright negative, but at least room for improvement for the Lightning?
Well, number 1 for sure in my eyes is, obviously, I talked about this a lot during the regular season. I was hoping they would improve on it, but clearing the puck out of our own zone, we struggle so bad with that at points, where Sergachev was on the ice for, I think, 2 minutes and 45 seconds last night, they said, on one shift, which is just crazy, because everyone's just standing around, and you're watching New York, and they're just passing, taking. You got to put pressure on those guys, man. You got to pressure the puck carrier, and that's what a lot of teams do against us. When we have the puck in our zone and we cannot get it out, these teams are putting high pressure on us. They're checking on the boards, they're getting their sticks involved, in the fact that New York had 1 guy on the boards last night, and we had 3 Lightning defenders, and he still, I think it was Martin, he still came away with the puck. It's just crazy. Like, they've got to work on getting that puck out. It's got to be, if New York gets in there, you got to get it right out. And a lot of the times, I think it's because the style of play where the Lightning they want that fast pass. They want that fast pass where it's like that cross-ice fast pass. And these are being picked off and intercepted and tipped. And I feel like New York almost knows it's coming. So we really need to see an adjustment with that. Some games it's good, and then, man, it's like last night was just really bad again, and it resulted in a goal because we couldn't get the puck out of the zone, and Sergachev just had an awful game last night. Awful game from Sergachev last night. Really disappointed him. It looked like he was just kind of standing around half the time on the ice. Savard had a bad game last night, too, in my opinion, so that's the number 1 thing we got to work on, is if we can get that puck out of the zone and not spend all that defensive time in our zone, we won't be as tired. We'll have a little more energy on the forecheck, because when you're in that zone that long, all you're doing is after that, you're chipping it out, you're getting a line change, and New York's getting the puck right back because you're having to dump the puck down. You're having to reset, and then New York's resetting too, and they're going right back in on their forecheck, and once again, we're back in our zone. So that's got to be cleaned up. That's the number one thing that's got to be cleaned up, is getting the pucks out of the zone quickly, making smart passes, these blind passes. Kucherov had a bad game last night too. Kucherov, Hedman, Sergachev, and Savard to me last night had really bad games, minus Kuch having one really good shot, which was a great save from Varlamov. To me, those things last night, the turnovers, the getting it out of the zone, I think that's been our worst, our biggest thing to overcome, and it hasn't improved much, but there's games where it's good, but I'd like to see that. Definitely have to clean that up going forward, especially if you want to, go on to the Stanley Cup. Another thing is, I think we need to take more. I think we've been shooting the puck pretty well. I'm not mad at our shots, but I think on the power play, the passing has got to be less. I think more shots in the power play, less passing, because we've had some good opportunities, even 5-on-5. We've played pretty well 5-on-5. So, a lot of people are, they want us to get on the power play because our percentage is so high, but New York's done pretty well at shutting down our power play. Last night, obviously we only had one power play, but they shut it down. They shut down our last one in Game 3 too. So I think we just need to take more shots on the power play, less passing, more shooting on the power play. I think if we clean that up, I think this best of 3, I think we got a good chance. You brought up, obviously, we haven't lost back-to-back in a really long time, and the Lightning seem to make really good adjustments. So I don't worry about that at all. Those are just the things in my eyes that have to be cleaned up if we want to improve and move on.
Yeah, now why do you think, are they just looking for the gotcha, backside, one-timer in an open net kind of thing on the power play, or are the Islanders doing something on their penalty kill that you're impressed with? Why do you think they're not shooting kind of on site?
I think it's almost, to me, it's almost like the Lightning want to make that wow play instead of just a simple, like we saw last night, for instance, Braden Point, right? What was it, 1-on-4 and he scored? And all he did was take a wrister from, the middle of the ice. Like, that's the type of stuff that needs to be happening. Like, we don't need those cross-ice passes, and then it's a cross-ice pass to Kuch who tries to, fake shot it to Point in the middle. Like, nah, just shoot the puck. Like, Kucherov should be shooting more than he's passing. Like, sometimes, like, he wants to make these crazy plays, and that's just... Sometimes it's like, wow, when it happens, but when it doesn't happen, it's like, oh man, what was he thinking? And then that results in an odd man rush, or it results in the puck being cleared out. So I think we just gotta shoot more, man. Shoot more on the power play. Don't worry about being selfish right now. It has nothing to do with being selfish. At the end of the day, no one's gonna criticize you for being selfish. Everyone's gonna be like, man, what a shot, that went in, let's go. We're all gonna cheer together, and the team's gonna be fine with that. The Lightning, we're not a selfish team, so I think the star power, Stamkos, Kuch, I think Hedman needs to be taking more shots. Obviously, Hedman last year in the playoffs was an animal. He's not really, he's a sister there, but his goals, I think he has 2 goals in the playoffs. So I think Hedman needs to get more involved, man. Take those shots, not so much. I think New York's really, leaning towards Kuch and Stammer as far as like kind of cheating in on them with the passes because they know it's coming right back to them. So, just mix it up a little bit, man. Mix it up and take more shots in the power play.
How do you feel about the Lightning? Have they been able to kind of take away a lot of the counterattack opportunities? Because I know in the first couple, this has been the question mark going into the series was, one of the things that when you're doing all that passing, not all of it's always crisp, and so if you're allowing them to you're trying to make this cute play, but then they make a little poke check, and now it's a 2-on-1, 3-on-2 kind of breakaway opportunity. That's happened a couple times, Game 1 and Game 4 specifically. I'm thinking of like really big opportunities that the Islanders have kind of taken from us. How do you feel overall they're doing against these kind of weird counterattack 2-on-1, 3-on-1 opportunities? I
think overall, I think it's definitely improved this series. But there was that, I think it was it Game 2 where Cooper. Was it Game 2 where Cooper benched Stamkos? I don't remember if it was Game 1 or Game 2 where he made that cross-ice pass and it was picked off, and then it was that breakaway goal. I think it was game 1 where Barzell scored that goal.
It might have been game 1. Game 1, there definitely was one. They took it right from the top.
Yeah,
of the zone.
and Cooper benched Stamkos for a good, I think, 10 minutes, in that period, trying to, prove a point. Like, guys, like, we can't be making those kind of dumb passes. There's no room for that right now, and Stamkos has hockey IQ. Like, he knows better than that. And that's one of those things where it's like these cross-ice passes, which the Lightning love to do. I feel like a lot of teams right now are catching on to that. So I think like, if you see when Point is on the ice, guys like Point, he'll take the puck in the zone himself. So I think a lot of these chip and chases that, the Islanders are playing it pretty well. We did have some quality zone time last night, but I think the turnovers, I think we've limited them to, not from what it was going into the playoffs to what it is now. I think it's definitely improved for sure, but we've had a couple here and there. But overall, I think minus that Stamkos one, I think you're right. I think there was another one last night that led to an odd man rush. But we've definitely improved in the odd man rushes. I think the defense has really done a good job of pinching up along the boards and not letting those pucks get out in those odd man rushes. Line changes have been pretty crisp, and that's huge, especially being the away team in New York. So I think they've done pretty well overall as far as stopping them from the counterattack.
The other question mark would be staying out of the penalty box. Can they do that? And you had brought up officiating, so I guess I'll ask your thoughts on kind of both. They're pretty similarly related things. Like, how do you think they've been doing so far, and what do you expect going forward about the Lightning and giving up penalty opportunities?
How do I think the refs have been doing, or how do I think the Lightning have? Both?
Either or. I mean,
Okay.
yeah, because there's a couple instances that I can point out, like getting Point pushed into the damn goalie, and
I mean, I can start with that one.
That's like that.
That's a horrible call, man. You can't make that call. The thing is I was talking to a buddy of mine, and I said, if you're gonna call that, that's got to be like game 1 of the first game of the season. You can't be calling that in the semifinals of the Eastern Conference Finals, because you want to call that in game 1 of the season. Like, hey, calm down. Like, let's set the message, send the message. But in the semifinal game where Point's flying down the ice, you can clearly see he was crossed. That was just a horrible, horrible call. And like I said, I don't like to blame the refs. They don't have an easy job. It's a hard job. It's the playoffs. You don't want to make a call that's going to cost the team the game. You gotta make the right calls at the right time. So I think if they're going to call a call, they need to call it early, and it's got to be called the rest of the game that way. If you're going to call this one call, then every call the rest of the game needs to be that way. And I think even last night, that call in heaven with the tripping at the end, it was so minor, but I mean, I guess it was a trip. I don't know. It's one of those. I know. Should they have held the whistle there? That's my point. I'm sure. Did the Islanders really play a game last night where they only committed one penalty? Like, are they really that good that there was no slashing, no interference calls, no, there was a couple hard hits, and I saw a couple of our guys go down, and the refs are just keeping their whistles. So to call that at that time in the game, like I said, that's inconsistency to me, because I feel like if that's going to be called, it's got to be called early. It can't be called in the last minute of the game when we're trying to make a push and put us down a man. So I think the officiating overall in the whole playoffs has been really, really bad, not just in the Lightning series. Overall, it's been really bad, and I'm hoping the NHL's going to try to work on something, because I love hockey, and I think they should be embarrassed to an extent for some of it, because it's definitely causing the outcome of certain games. Imagine if the Lightning had lost that game from that point interference call. We could have lost that game 1-0, and that could have been the call. Why? Like, that'd be awful, to go back at that call. There's no way they went in the locker room, looked at that replay, and said, we made the right call. I mean, I just can't see how they expect the Point to slow down. So, I think the officiating definitely has to improve going forward. I'm hoping it's a little. I'm hoping it's even throughout, man. Like I said, if they're gonna make a call in the beginning and then call it like that the whole game, don't just make a phantom call or random call at the end of the game that you haven't called all game. So I'm definitely hoping it improves for sure.
What do you think about the? Some of the penalties we've shot ourselves in the foot, especially in the first couple 2 rounds, and like that Florida series, it was just like. I'm surprised it wasn't just one-on-one for a few times with all the fights and I think just have breakaway shootout style hockey at some point. But that we haven't. Thankfully, it hasn't been that physical. I mean, it's been physical, been chippy, but nowhere near the knives and guns that were brought out against Florida. So, do you still think that that's a problem, a pain point for the Lightning now that it's a best of 3?
As far as like them committing penalties, you mean, or like them getting calls?
Yeah. I mean, because that seems to be like one of the Achilles heel that every team that has taken us this far, they've been able to get us in the box. They've been able to. Now a couple of those, like the tripping penalty, that was just kind of like, okay, I get you. That's a bad call on the ref at a very bad time. But a lot of times guys are out of position. We saw McDonough had a tripping penalty a couple times in the series, and that kind of stuff comes from being on a breakaway opportunity.
Right.
You're like, man, and you're out of position, and then you trip the dude, and there you go. That's kind of where, leading in from, you've been talking about passing, we've been talking about making extra passes that are superfluous, but like, how do you feel overall with them kind of toning down the penalties, and are they going to continue maybe to keep playing smart?
Yeah, I mean, I think overall, our penalties have improved. Like I said, I don't think the officials have made not a lot of fair calls. Like I said, for the Islanders to only commit one penalty last night to me is crazy. But that's what they're calling. The Islanders aren't a highly penalized team, so the refs know that, and they know we're a highly penalized team. So I think it's improved. Obviously, we know we've improved those too many men on the ice penalty, except that penalty's just horrible. You want to avoid that at all costs. We got away with one, thank God. But I mean, that's improved. I haven't seen as many slashes, and we like to use our sticks a lot, so I think sometimes we get frustrated and we'll do those dumb slashing or the trips. So I think it's improved this series. I think a lot of it has been on the officiating. I think it's more so been on the officiating than actually the Lightning. I think the Lightning have improved overall as far as taking dumb penalties. Every game's been close. It's 1-goal games. Obviously last night we were down 3-0. I think that was our biggest deficit, and we still almost won the game. So, yeah, I think going forward, I think as long as the refs are going to call it down the middle and they're going to make the right calls, I think us taking penalties has improved.
Now with it's now a best of 3, man. It is go time. But 2 of those games are at the Ice Palace or Amalie Arena. So, still, how are you feeling right now? 2 games now. The 2 games have been really bad. They've lost, and the 2 games they've won have been amazing. And it's like, well, okay, who's going to show up to the ice tonight? Because I mean, if they play the way they played in game 2 and 3, hey, we're going to wrap this thing up. 1 on the road, 1 at home. Let's go. But it's looking more and more likely that this is going to go the full 7, in my opinion. Especially if they do not come out firing at home on Game 5. So this is Game 5 to me is on Monday is, I mean, not just must win. I think it's like, I mean, this is going to be a probably a series. Whoever wins this game probably wins the series. So I'm putting a lot of pressure on it. I know just mentally, I think this is a huge task, and I don't know who's going to show up. I don't know if it's going to be the show-stopping Game 2, Game 3 offense and defensive shutdown that they had in Game 3, or if it's going to be the kind of extra passes, making dumb decisions, giving up opportunities that we saw in Game 1 and Game 4. But after my long tirade, I'll ask you as we wind down here, what do you see, or what are you looking forward to seeing out of this next game and potentially the next couple games?
Well, obviously we haven't lost the back-to-back, so that's on the line come Monday. Okay. So I would say it's in our favor to take Game 5 for sure. You look at every game, even the Game 1 where we didn't play our best, and last night's Game 4 we didn't play our best. We still only lost by 1 goal. Had that shot gone in from McDonough last night, man, who knows what the headlines? Who knows what the headlines would be reading right now? You know what I mean? That was one crazy ending, and I meant to bring that up. That was
Yeah, we didn't bring that up, but go ahead, man. That was insanity.
Man,
Insanity.
you know, to be on the penalty kill, you pull your goalie, so you're just 5-on-5 like you'd normally be. You have no goalie, and McDonough just makes an amazing play, man. Like that fake out, he brought Varlamov all the way out, and you know, hats off to the Islander defense, man. They had their goalies back. They did what they needed to do. I was so mad, but I was like, wow, like. What a play, what a save, like what a game. I had all these emotions going through my head. I know you're probably feeling the same way. Your heart's racing. Like if he's not there, that puck goes in and we're going into overtime. Like, that puck is going into the net on what would be one of the craziest plays probably in playoff history, man. I mean, that was just... It was
1 second, 1.5 seconds. Like, it was insane.
A backhand, you know, like twisting on his knee, like...
Spinning, yeah.
Man, like that brought up all the emotions, the feels of just how this series has gone. You know, we've, like I said, even when we played bad, we've only lost by 1 goal. So I think when we can bring our A game, when we can play a full 60 minutes, we all know what we're capable of. We've seen what the Lightning can do. I think it's just a matter of us just showing up on the ice and just doing it. And I don't know if that's mentally, I don't know if that's... I can't figure that out. That's my biggest frustration is I can't figure out what the Lightning are thinking night in and night out. It's like, sometimes it's just like you're getting this team of just all-stars out there and they're you know, firing on all cylinders and everything's going our way. And then you get games like last night where it's like the first 10 minutes we showed up and then it was just like we were out shooting them, we were out playing them. And then the second period was like, what happened in the locker room, you know, like did we lose our mojo? Like it was just completely flat second period. So when we can play a full game, man, we're one of the best teams in the league. We should be repeating as champs and we can play our game. So I think it comes down to, you know, obviously the streak of us not losing back to back. So that's got to be in our favor. I think the offensive firepower has definitely got to be in our favor. If the defense can play it, they did in game 3. I think that's in our favor too. So I think all of that stuff coming together, we got a good chance. It's just about them going out there and actually doing it, you know, and executing and playing smart and hoping that the refs call these more a fair game. You know, let's not hope for any dumb calls these next 3 games if it does go 7. So play our game, play our style. You know, I'm feeling good. I was upset last night, but I took some time and looked at it like, man, we were down 3-0 in New York. We were a defenseman away from tying the game. I mean, man, it's crazy. You know, now that I bring that up, I'm all excited and hyped up again just thinking about that shot from McDonough because it was crazy, man. So, you know, I'm still staying positive. I did say Bolts in 6, like I said. So for that to stay true, we had to lose 2 games, and realistically, hats off the Islanders. They've played a pretty clean game overall. I've seen some cheap shots here and there by Clutterbuck, but he's been a little baby. So other than that, I think the Islanders have played a fair game. I don't think they've been cheap like Florida was. The Carolina series to me wasn't that chippy either. So I think the Islanders have played a pretty fair game. You know, they've taken us out of our game, so hats off to them. I think the Lightning just need to, you know, not get frustrated. You know, I think last night was a lot of frustration on Cooch and Hedman and Sergachev, and when they're making those turnovers, I think we really get frustrated because it doesn't work, and you can't act like that. You got to just go out there and play. So let's show up, let's play a full 60, and I think we got a real good shot of moving on to the finals.
Yeah, I just feel like if this was a New York Islander podcast, we probably could have said a lot of the similar things in terms of the feeling of saying, like, guys, we're not out of it. Like, the 2 games that we've shut down the Lightning have been great. If we keep doing that, we'll do this. If we keep making them make mistakes, if Varlamov keeps going, our defense is going great. Like both teams, I think, have a lot of positives and negatives, unfortunately, to hang their heads on, and so. It's about this is a true evenly matched series, 4 games into it, and we'll see if we can just kind of turn on the afterburners and leave them in the dust here out of the next 2 more wins and get ourselves to the Cup final. So Man, I'm excited because as bad as Game 4 was for 60 minutes or for 40 minutes of it,
Right.
the last 20 minutes was the most exhilarating. Like, you could tell they had blood in the water and they were sharks swimming around, man, and they were just firing it. Man, when Point scored that laser and he still had 2 dudes on him, and he just, like, his look of determination was like,
let's go.
Like, he willed that goal in, like, through, like, it was crazy. I mean, it was like, oh, wow. Things had changed. It was amazing.
And then we saw Tyler Johnson from a few years ago,
TJ
showed up and sniped
scores,
it. And,
man.
Great play from
with
him.
With the deke,
yeah.
just killing it.
He did.
Like, whoa, buddy. And he had a top shelf laser. So,
he did.
So maybe there's a hole above Varlamov's left shoulder that we're kind of exploiting here in the last 20 minutes. So we'll see what they do. But man, Chris, it's very good to have you. I'm so happy we got to talk, man. I missed you last week, and I can't wait until we check in after a couple more games, and hopefully after the Lightning have advanced to the next round, man. So, man, any final thoughts before we sign off, man?
I think we just got to stay positive as Lightning fans. I know last night was frustrating. Yeah. I know Game 1 was frustrating, but you can't, like I said, you can't win every game. I know losing stinks, but it's a 7-game series. Now it's best of 3. If you're looking at a best of 3 series, you got to think the odds would be in our favor statistically. So, I am concerned, though, that we are playing at home. We haven't played well at home, so I'm expecting a good showing. Like, this is the time to show up and play well at home, play in front of a pumped crowd. Emily's going to be rocking, so I think we got to show up tomorrow night. I think they're going to play good. I think we just got to go out there and play our game, man. Don't get frustrated. We got a good shot. I know New York's tough, but I think we can still close it out in 6. It's going to take a full team effort, but everyone's just got to hang on. And even if we do lose Monday and God forbid this streak is snapped, I still don't think it's over. So even if we go down and New York somehow pulls it off, I think we can still take it to 7 and then bring it back here, man, and close it out here in 5 or 7, or 6, 5 or 7. So. Just got to stay positive, man. That's it. Losing is going to happen in the playoffs. It's a best of 7. No one goes undefeated. So we just got to move on and hope we make some adjustments and keep going.
Yeah, man. I'm feeling good, feeling excited, and confident that they're gonna do what it takes to bring it back. So, with all that said, guys, thank you for sticking with us and listening. Giving up your time is very important to us, and so we'll ask you for a couple more things, and that's if you're on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, we are at RBLR Sports. Give us that like, give us that subscription, follow us on all those forums, but also subscribe to us. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Google Podcasts or Podbean or there's a ton of all of these devices, all these platforms where podcasts are, there's a little follow button or there's a little like button. Hit that, and if it allows you to give us a review, join the people that have given us a 5-star review, because we hope and strive to give you a 5-star quality content. So, man, so excited! I can't be hyped up enough. This is go time, man. This is like. I love Game 7s. I hope it doesn't go that far. I hope we just close this out in 5 and 6. I hope you're correct. But from now on, every game is going to feel like a Game 7, and that is Christmas to a hockey fan, man, and it is the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, and all of those things, anxiety and stress, but also exhilaration and joy. So I hope you're taking your blood pressure medicine or whatever over there, big guy.
Trying to.
Well. Man, well, Chris, thank you again, my friend, and to all of our listeners, thank you again. I am Eureka. We are RBLR Lightning here at RBLR Sports. For Jake, who's on assignment, man, we will check in with Jake later on. We'll get the whole gang back together for the next show. But to all the dads out there, happy Father's Day from one dad to another. And, man, let's go Bolts, baby.
Go Bolts.
Chris, take us home with one more Go Bolts, baby.
Go Bolts, baby.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.